She has been here for years, decades, long enough for the world to forget her name, in a room where air never moves, a room where the windows stay locked, a room where a woman sits alone, holding nothing but the memory of clay. People around her said she had become unstable, paranoid, hard to manage. Whether she was truly ill or simply inconvenient is still debated today. Before this room, she shaped bodies out of earth. She made stone feel alive. She made people whisper, "How can someone see this much?" And then one day, the world around her closed in. This is not a story only about madness. This is a story about what happens when a woman refuses to shrink. This is the story of Camille Claudel. Camille was born in 1864 in a small French town where girls were expected to be quiet, polite, and preferably invisible. Camille was none of these things. She loved clay. She loved shapes. She loved the feeling of making something appear from nothing. Her mother didn't approve. Her father supported her. Her brother Paul had a complicated relationship with her. Admiration mixed with distance, and later, decisions that shaped her fate. Camille's talent was clear early on, not because of one dramatic childhood story, but because everyone who saw her work said the same thing. This girl is serious. At 17, Camille moved to Paris to study sculpture. Women weren't allowed into the main art academy yet. That wouldn't change until 1897. So she trained in private studios. One of her teachers recognized her skill. When he left for Italy, he asked another sculptor to take over his students. That sculptor was Auguste Rodin, and this is where the story starts to heat up. Rodin walked into the studio and saw Camille's work. He realized immediately that she wasn't just talented, she was exceptional. Her sculptures had weight, emotion, tension. She understood bodies from the inside out. Rodin didn't just see a student. He saw someone who could match him in intensity and vision. Their connection was instant and complicated and brilliant and eventually destructive. Camille became Rodin's assistant, then his collaborator, then his partner. She worked on parts of his major pieces: hands, feet, drapery, and more. Historians still debate how much of Rodin's studio output carries her influence. But here's the truth. Rodin was already established. He had power, networks, and recognition. Camille was young, gifted, and trying to build her own name. People loved the story of Rodin the genius and Camille the muse. But Camille was far more than a muse. She was a sculptor with her own fire. Camille's studio was dense with work, clay on the floor, tools stacked in corners, half-finished bodies waiting in silence. It wasn't chaos, it was urgency. She worked with intensity. She worked with focus. She worked like someone who knew time was short. Camille wanted independence, her own studio, her own career, her own identity. Rodin wanted to keep her close, emotionally and artistically. He supported parts of her career, but the equality she hoped for never fully appeared. Their relationship became a storm: love, anger, passion, disappointment, and two artists who needed space but couldn't let go. Eventually, Camille left him. After leaving Rodin, Camille created some of her greatest works: the Waltz, the Mature Age Clotho, the Chatterboxes. Her sculptures were emotional, bold, and unlike anything else at the time. But the art world was not kind to women. Critics often judged her through the lens of her relationship with Rodin. Her family offered little support. Her mother disapproved of her life choices. Her brother Paul drifted away. Over time, Camille became convinced that Rodin was working against her. She believed he was blocking commissions, controlling exhibitions, and harming her career. Here's the nuance. Rodin did have enormous influence. Sexism absolutely shaped her opportunities. But historians today agree that many of Camille's accusations grew into persecutory delusions, signs of a real mental illness that worsened over time. Some fears had roots in reality, others grew far beyond it. Camille's health declined. Her money ran out. She isolated herself. She destroyed some of her own work, partly out of fear it would be stolen. Her family, especially her mother, saw her as unstable and unmanageable. In 1913, after her father died, the one family member who consistently supported her, Camille was committed to an asylum. Doctors described her as paranoid, but also calm and non-violent. Some recommended release. Her family refused. Her brother Paul visited rarely. Her mother never visited at all. Camille remained institutionalized for 30 years. Remember the room from the beginning. That was Camille's world. She lived quietly. She waited for letters that never came. She never returned to sculpture. When she died in 1943, she was buried in a communal grave at the asylum. Her remains were later lost. For a long time, her name faded. Today, Camille Claudel is recognized as one of the most important sculptors of her era. Her work is shown in museums, her story is studied, her influence is acknowledged, her fire survived. She didn't disappear, but for decades she was forgotten. Ironically, one of the people who helped bring Camille's story back into the light was her brother Paul's granddaughter, a story the family tried to leave behind. But Camille's work, her voice, and her force were never meant to be hidden away. So here's the question. If Camille Claudel lived today, would we celebrate her, or would we still try to silence her?